I surmise, and I haven't done a complete property record, but I believe my wife and I are the fifth owners of this property since the Indian tribes. Uh, so it's the property's been held uh, in two families in the Episcopal Church beginning around 1902 until 1996 when my wife and I bought the property. So it's had long ownership. Now, the reason you're here is because of at least the third owners, the Parker family, who bought roughly 180 acres from a friend of theirs from uh, acquaintances back east by the name of Morton. They acquired 180 acres of about over 300 acres and built a log cabin up where the brick house is where you came in. That house was built in 1853 after the log cabin had succumbed to a fire. They were pioneers. They came here around 1815, 1816. And as their children were born, they were concerned about their education. They were both well-educated individuals. Daniel Parker and Priscilla Malloy Parker were from the Massachusetts, Maine, and well-established, very appreciative of education, and were concerned about their children's education. So, since there were no schools beyond the one-room schoolhouse, they decided that they would send their oldest son, James Parker, to school to get enough education to teach the younger siblings. And so they did so. James Parker went to Hanover College in Indiana and did another term at the Carey Academy in what is now College Hill, North College Hill. And he came back and started the school. And as word spread that a school had started, others in the area said, hey, what about us? Can our kids go to school here? And so they hatched the idea of starting a private academy. And they made a very profound decision around 1838, and that is that they were going to open the school and have it open to all races, all religions, and men and women. And that was a very radical step at that time and makes this place extremely important and extremely unique. Now, the school operated from 1839 to 1892. And over those years, they educated over 1,500 students, both black, white, men and women. Many of those people went on to be the bulwarks, the backbone of the settling of the frontier and the growth of this country. And I've, in my spare time, which isn't much lately, I've researched many names of these students, and you'll find them in the county histories and the city histories of many places in the West. Parkers were associated with the founding of several universities, including Wilberforce. James Parker was the first acting principal of Wilberforce University in Wilberforce, Ohio. Again, an early African-American institution. They were involved. Charles Coleman Parker, one of the brothers of James Parker, was involved with the founding of Upper Iowa University. The founder of Berea College in Berea, Ohio, Berea, Kentucky. I'm sorry, got the wrong Berea. Again, a radical institution that educated blacks and whites in the slave state of Kentucky, beginning in the 1850s. They were close associates with the Parkers, and I believe they arrived at their operations, their mission policy, by their association and knowledge of being with the Parkers, because there were no restrictions. Some of the schools that were established that were either integrated or co-ed, they were segregated inside the school. Well, we know that they were integrated here because they had one room was the school. And again, you have it in the archives there at NKU now in your possession, the original ledger book from 1839, which lists the names of the students. And so there's no doubt that there were men, women, blacks, and whites at the first class here in 1839. So I believe, and I hope you'll come to appreciate that you're standing on hallowed ground when it comes to education in this country. And the vision is that this is the same vision as the Parkers. They were thwarted in their attempt for this school to grow and prosper and remain a university, but they couldn't get the funding. And of course, there's a lot of speculation on why that was the case, because in 1892, an integrated school was still very onerous in this part of the country. And so I believe there's several of us, and I'm one of them, that believe that because of that policy, there weren't many that were willing to invest in the school. And so it was transferred out of the estate, first to the Episcopal Church of Southern Ohio, and then I was fortunate enough to come into possession of it in the 1990s. So, of course, I've tried to go on quickly. There's lots of stuff. You know, there's whole, how should I say, boxes full of information that some of you know is over in Highland Heights, and it's fascinating stuff. And anyone who's involved with putting these puzzle pieces together, I applaud you. I appreciate what you're doing, and I really appreciate what Northern Kentucky University has done in terms of bringing to light what happened here, because it's important, especially today when we're still struggling with the issues that the Parkers tried to correct back in 1839.